Virginia are host to round one of the United States Cyclocross Series, and specifically the city of Roanoke and Fallon Park. The tried and tested course at Fallon Park will form the backdrop for 2 full days of competition. The UCI C1 races on the Saturday for both elite women and elite men, and then the C2 races on the Sunday. These 2 opening days of competition will open the whole US Cyclocross Series right here.
Visit Virginia's Blue Ridge Go Cross.
Really Rad Festival.
Charm City Cyclocross.
Cyclocross, you dear old friend, welcome back into our lives. Where have you been all this time? Here we are right at the beginning of the season, and we're kicking it off once again, as we did last year, with the USCX, the United States Cyclocross Series. 3 races, one weekend after another, that take us through to Charm City in Maryland, and then, of course, that Falmouth, Massachusetts race on October. A little bit of a pause before the final one, which gets us ever closer to that opening UCI World Cup round in Waterloo, USA. My name's Jez Cox. I am here with Jeremy Powers, otherwise known as J Pow. We've just been bringing you the women's race, and it was a very fast, dusty and bone-dry affair, J Pow, wasn't it?
It certainly was, Jez. Yeah, we had a great race, and we saw a lot of good, we won't do any spoilers, but we saw a lot of great riders out there. You know, Maghalie Rochette, saw Caroline Monty, Raylan Nuss, Sydney McGill, all going head-to-head for that top spot. But today, temperature increasing a little bit as things have gone on, almost closer to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. We heard from some of the female racers, some really high temps out there now.
Yes, one of the things you definitely, well, I would say you probably never see in European cyclocross, unless you happen to be at a summer cross race, was riders warming up, as we saw for the women's race, and I'm sure we might see for the men's race as well, but warming up on the course and arriving at the start line in ice vests. Yes, you heard me right. For cyclocross. So cooling, an ever-present part of our sport nowadays, but you wouldn't necessarily expect it for cyclocross. We're looking here at the man who won this race, right at the bottom of our shot there, Vincent Bastens. Of course, the Belgian, who has now made a thing of starting his season here in the USA. And he's back again to see if he can get the double win, just as he did 1 year ago. Of course, we have the C1 races today and the C2 races tomorrow. Curtis White topping the list of, I guess, American favourites as well. And it's looking, J Power, like Eric Brunner. We're looking at the standings here from last year. Do apologise. These are the standings, of course, after last year's season. After Vincent Bastens won 5 rounds in a row, he then departed for Europe, meaning that Curtis White and Eric Brunner led in the point standings at the end of all 4 rounds last year as well. Caleb Schwartz there in the top 10. Did our pre-race course video that I think we should be bringing you in just a moment. Apologise if we don't. We certainly did at the beginning of our women's coverage. I think we might be seeing that one again because it was a really nice insight into this course. But we're looking down on it now from our drone shot across Fallon Park. The course today, 2.86 kilometres, so not mega long. It's actually been shortened a little bit as we've got closer to the running of the race, and they've tweaked things and played around with it a little bit. But it's been freshly cut. The grass is very, very low, and it is dusty and dry. If anything, the women's course has really filed it down and made it even more dusty. We saw how important School Hill there was on the left-hand side of the course as we look at it. But J Power, tell us a little bit about this Fallon Park course, would you?
Well, yeah, we've seen it very similar if you've watched previous editions to other years. You know, it's got a lot of the first half of today's race is going to be really interesting. There's going to be a lot of Yeah, a lot of undulation and some more climbing. Then they get up to a sand pit. Then it rolls downhill back down to like where the venue area of the track is. I think we're going to have Caleb Schwartz take us through some of the key sectors potentially here coming up that are coming along. But here he is now. Caleb, can you tell us all about this?
I ride for my own program, NV Industry 9, and we're here in Roanoke for Virginia's Blue Ridge Go Cross, and I'm going to take you through some key course features today. Differently from last year, we're headed the opposite direction on the start straight into a very sharp right-hand sweeping corner here. Gets really narrow, really fast. We've got some gravel and off camber. Pretty dynamic and really narrows in quickly, which will make for, I think, a pretty spicy and interesting start to the race. This is the Fat Tire Full Send off camber 180. It can be decisive because if you make a mistake here, it's high speed, it's rocky, it's technical, and you have very, very limited options to make it through this corner without smoking a tubular on rocks and roots. We're here at the barriers. These are definitely some atypical barriers. We've got an uphill at an angle, making them definitely more difficult to hop than your standard flat barriers. They're not super high, but they're right before Schoolhouse Hill. And if you get gapped off here, you're going to have to burn a major match to close that gap before the final decisive sections. We're here on Schoolhouse Hill with 5 corners to go. This is going to be a very decisive part of the race. Basically, we have one final massive kicker just before this section, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 corners to go that are incredibly hard to pass in. They're also technical, and if you're not right glued to the wheel, there's no way you're getting around, and if there's any gap at all, you're not coming around in the finish straight. There it is. Those are the key features I think are going to play a factor in Go Cross tomorrow, and we'll see how it actually shakes out.
Big thank you to Caleb Schwartz, who wish him well in the race, which is just about to start as he's racing for NV Composites Industry 9. We will be looking out for him. But the man who starts first is the highest man on the UCI rankings. That is how they are starting today. Curtis White, number 2, bib number 2, ahead of another one of our foreigners, the Swissman Loris Ruya, the 24-year-old. It'll be interesting to see how he goes. Former mountain biker, making the journey over here for this race, along with some other Swiss contenders as well. And we have 44 riders in this field today, and even more foreign contingents as well. I've mentioned Loris Ruya. Anton Ferdinand has joined Vincent Bastans in a 2 Belgian pronged attack at the front end of this race. Anton Ferdinand riding for DHM. We'll watch the 2 of them and see how they get on. They will have an excellent battle with Curtis White. He was the series winner last year, and he's well used to battling with this man, Jay Powell, isn't he? Vincent Bastain's there.
Yeah, getting a shot here of Curtis White, the U.S. National Champions tires there, talking with Vincent Bastans. Curtis riding for the Steve Tilford Foundation, similar to Raylan Nuss, who's our Continental Champion over on the women's side. But Curtis riding his first race of this season as the U.S. National Champion. This is, as you mentioned, Loris Ruya. Rider I haven't seen here racing in the U.S., especially in these early season races. Swiss rider, very strong. Great to see another rider, Anton Ferdinand. We've seen a lot of him over in Europe. A very special rider, really bringing a lot of depth to the U.S. scene. I expect those first 4 riders to really play a big factor. You're seeing a lot of the traditional cyclocross tires out here today. This is Michael Vandenham riding for Giant Easton. You'd famously remember Michael for cracking his finger at the World Championships last year, his last race, right back in, right? Just placing it right back in after crashing in that opening start lap. Here's Caleb Schwartz, who we saw take us through the pre-ride, riding for NV Composites Industry 9. And then, of course, we've got Andrew Dillman. Really great to see Andrew back on the front row here, racing. Super strong rider, great guy. And, of course, we've got the CX Devo Trek Bikes rider, Andrew Strohmeyer. Super strong rider. Great to see Andrew also on the front line riding for CX Harris, continuing to, and Trek Bikes. Everybody here on the front row's got a lot of training and is living for it, so it's going to be really good racing, and see how everyone comes into this first race of the year.
J-Power, Vincent Bastans must be the favourite for this. He is 35 years of age now, though vastly experienced, and as I said, has now made a regular feature of starting his season here in the USA. He's the man to beat, but there's an awful lot of up-and-coming young talent in there as we watch them gridded too. A lot of 20 and 21-year-olds as well, including current under-23 and former junior champions too in amongst them. Could be an exciting, fresh start, couldn't it?
For sure. Yeah, there's a lot of talent in here. I think there's the current, maybe Vincent's part of the 2 generations he's racing out of now. But then you see the Curtis White generation, that 25 to 30. And then just before that, it's like 2 more generations down. If you do it by every 5 years, it's kind of wild. You see these 19, 20, 21-year-olds all racing. And those are the next names of cyclocross that are starting to punch above their weight and starting to put themselves in the top 5 as the riders are poised and ready to go here down on the start line here at Virginia's Blue Ridge Go-Cross.
Yes, the US Cyclocross Series starts right here. Of course, the women have raced already in their C1 race. This is the men in their C1 race. Tomorrow they have their C2 race. So all of these USCX Series races, 2 days back to back. The highest ranked race on the Saturday and the slightly lower ranked UCI race on the Sunday, meaning there's really no incentive for anyone not to do both, and they will all do both as well. There is the US national champion, Curtis White, looking to do that skin suit proud today. And he leads into the first corner as well. Curtis White looking calm and in control. He has Anton Ferdinand right up alongside him as well, the Belgian, in the dark blue of Des Hatch Hen's Mace. That easily recognisable kit hasn't changed that kit yet. Ferdinand now taking over the lead. And when we spoke before we came on air, J-Pow, you said you reckon Anton Ferdinand could be the man to watch today, and he's leading right now.
Yeah, super solid rider. I mean, Vincent comes into the U.S. scene, and he's been really, really strong. He comes over. He's got a small crew, but he's got some Europeans with him this year. It's going to change the dynamic of the racing for sure. But these riders, they have an extra gear. The Belgians, the Swiss rider, Loris Ruya, all of these riders will change the dynamic of the racing. Curtis is going to be traditionally, like he and Eric Brunner would really have focused and been super strong out here. But you can already see that, this is a different makeup. This first lap is going to be super, super fast, and I don't think that the pace will drop very much from laps 1 until the end. So it's going to be 60 minutes, very, very hard racing. A lot of these riders, this is their first race of the year. Maybe sans 1 or 2 riders that raced over in Germany at this opening race, but for most of these riders, this is going to be the first throwdown of the season. As we see now, it is Ferdinand on the front, followed by Curtis White, followed by Vincent Bastans, Lawrence Ruya there, and then we've of course got Jack Spranger there in 5th spot. So great to see the CX this cross rider there coming in and topping into that top 5.
Yeah, you mentioned the racing last weekend in Germany, J-Pow. That was the opening UCI race of the year, and of course it was 2 days back-to-back, 2 races back-to-back. Loris Ruya, the Swissman who is in here, was a winner last weekend and also 3rd in Germany as well. I think he was 3rd in the C1 and 1st in the C2 as well. So he carries good form and confidence into this, the Swissman too. But Anton Ferdinand is the rider who started hard there. I remember that being a real feature of his European racing last year, Ferdinand, and at times, oh yes, a crash into that corner. Thankfully, everyone back up again. These dusty conditions, we talked, didn't we, during the women's race about just how much dust was being kicked up. That's the first time we've seen someone come off, and they've come off again in the middle there as well. The pack is really causing problems there for a few riders.
Yeah, that could have been Caleb Schwartz that went down there, but you see they dragged the sand again. Let's see how things shake out here. But there's Vandenham off of his bike. Most of the riders trying to plow a line to come through, and so yeah, we've got a bit of a crash there coming in. So let's see if we get a replay of exactly what happened there. But riders down here in this first section, and as I was saying during the women's race, watch for this section here, this sand section and the chicane that comes before it to be a pivotal part of this racing throughout. It's traditionally been an area where there's been problems, but let's get this replay and see what happens exactly.
I think actually that looks like, I'm not sure that wasn't Schwartz involved with that actually.
No, it looked like it might have been Strohmeyer, in fact, that went down there. It was a CX Devo rider, Trek Bikes. So let's see what goes through when we come to the start finish. But traditionally, I would expect Strohmeyer to be there in that top 5-10. So let's see where he ends up folding out as they come through for this first lap. As now it looks like it could be, I can't really tell from here, but it looks like either maybe Ferdinand there on the front driving it now.
Yeah, it's definitely Luis Ruia in the green with the red helmet in second there as well. It does look like Ferdinand has pushed his way back into the lead as well. Our drone shots are fantastic, but they don't always give us quite such clear indication of the riders' numbers and kit. It is the kit of Des Hatch Hens Mace, though, with that yellow band across the middle. So that's Ferdinand leading. And I was just starting to say earlier, J. Powell, that I do remember a feature of certainly the early season last year. Ferdinand starting very hard and then fading. Let's see if he's overcome that as he's matured a little bit. But I can remember him leading some big races last year on the first lap and then finishing sometimes outside the top 10, having done so.
You know, that's how it starts, though. Really strong in the beginning, and then, you know, you've got 40 or 45 or 50 minutes, but you don't have quite the full hour in your legs. I think, though, that this, with a reduced field, not like Matthew Van Der Poel, Tom Pidcock, Wout van Aert, you know, I think that most of these riders are in the top 5 anyways, top 4 or 5. They're pretty evenly matched, and they're going to be looking at each other to drive the pace. There's going to be just enough rest in between these laps, and the pace isn't going to be so high that I do expect some explosive racing to happen. It's going to be great to see who comes out on top, but there is quite a bit of dust out there right now and high temps, so that's also going to play big factors, like who does well in the high heat and dust.
Yep, Ferdinand leading through, Loris Ruia in second.
Caleb
Schwartz
there
as you
fifth.
said, yeah, absolutely, just off the back of that group. Bastain's in fourth, Schwartz in fifth there as well, so this is the makings of a leading group. Ferdinand looking confident, pumping the bike down over the flyover there. And the American champion, Curtis White, also looking good in there as they all hop the barriers there. Everyone hopping over.
Yeah, it's good to see. I can see some of the other riders coming through here. That looks like Kevin Mullally there coming through there, riding for the Jam Fund, a crew here that I know super well out of Western Massachusetts. Great to see them make the trip down. So at the Al Donahue, the head coach there of the Jam Fund coming through. And yeah, a lot of great riders making their trip down to open this season and kick things off here in Virginia, as we see now. Looks like still Ferdinand on the front there, followed by Loris Ruia, Curtis White, and Vincent Bastons, which is exactly what I expected. But let's see if Caleb Schwartz can make his way across there and tuck in on that back on that wheel.
Yeah, Schwartz is nearly onto the back of Bastans there. Bastans racing in the same kit, same colours as last year, which is handy because we have often an awful lot of changes of kit. That American Champions kit of Curtis White, very easily recognisable, of course, in the Stars and Stripes. One more rider trying to come back on there as well. The Swissman in second there looks good, just closing up the gap behind Anton Ferdinand, who is leading. And look at the dust, just the sheer increased number of riders on the course. The fact that it's being kicked up by the women, it's noticeably more, what should we say, like the course is on fire out there today, isn't it, J. Powell? And it could be in complete contrast tomorrow when we expect it to be quite wet. We could be in for some heavy rain showers tomorrow.
We could be. Let's see what happens. You know, I know up here in the Northeast there is a hurricane coming through right now, which is going to hit. So there's going to be some choppy waters, but that's not the same storm that these guys are going to face. So, you know, we have to wait and see the weather. It seems like it changes it by the minute, but they are expecting some thunder showers and some rain tomorrow. So let us see. It'll be interesting to see as now White gets shuffled out to fourth as Bastons wants to make sure that he's part of it. But this is different. Vincent Bastons hasn't faced such stiff competitions from other Europeans coming over, but perhaps they see his success and his points grabs that he's done over here in the preseason. There is the Trek World Cup. These riders have decided, you know what, I'm going to take a stab at getting some points, getting some good American racing in, some lower, you know, maybe not as intense, you know, with regards to like the public and the fans and the having to do as much autographs and things like this. They'll be happy to come over here, have some more relaxed racing, but high points grabs and prize money. So these riders are taking notes on what Vincent Bastons has been doing over here and deciding to have a crack at it themselves, which is cool to see.
It must be inspiring for Anton Ferdinand. He's a very consistent rider, had a very consistent season last year in Europe, but not a big winner by any means, J. Powell, Anton Ferdinand. He might have looked at Bastains and the amount of UCI points he managed to rack up here last year, winning 5 rounds in a row. Not just the points, but the prestige of winning these races as well. And I think he fancies a bit of that, the Belgian.
Yeah, and he's got a good chance. You know, these riders know each other. They're racing the season all together. Now Schwartz coming up there, plopping himself right next to Lars Rouillet, who's taking, it looks like a gel perhaps, after about only 10 minutes of racing, needing a little bit of sugar in his system. So Schwartz now popping himself in there in 4th spot right in front of Curtis White. So this is good to see. But yeah, we'll have to see how Ferdinand, like you said, not a winner. And truthfully, you get a lot of adrenaline from racing as we see the two Bear Devo CX riders there coming in just inside the top 10. But to win is a totally different thing. But here we go, the top 10. Ferdinand, Rouillet, White, Boston, Schwartz, Spranger, Strohmeyer, and Marcus Shelton all there, just right in, all within 10 seconds. So this race still very much together, but watch this sand section, Jez, as they come into this, because this opens up gaps.
That's that corner again, isn't it, where we had the crash on lap 1. Thankfully, everyone. I think the crash was probably more likely to riders slightly dive bombing up the inside, just the sheer number of riders here. I don't think it's a particularly dodgy corner, although a lot of these corners here are very flat. And I guess, I mean, J. Powell, could there be anything in this that riders who've been coming off a mountain bike season might, I know it sounds odd, but might just be more used to having those wonderfully bermed corners. So many XC courses now are bermed all over the place. And then suddenly, I mean, it crosses like the epitome of the flat corner, isn't it?
It is, you know, and I think that these riders, you know, they're all riding tubular tires or something fancy, cotton, you know, semi-tubulars or open tubulars or whatever, but they've all got something, you know, that's able to take up a lot of the bumps and the stuff that goes on there when they're turning these kind of smaller 33 mil tires. I don't think that they're too worried, but yeah, I guess if you're coming off the mountain bike, you might, you know, there's a different style of riding, but most of these guys have been on their bikes for the last couple of months, getting used to how they're riding on the equipment that they're going to be racing on at race pace and getting used to it. I know Curtis White's been up here in Western Massachusetts training with a lot of the local riders and dialing in his machines, and I'm certain that the Belgians, I know from their Instagrams and stuff, have been out there really pushing it in their sand pits and in their local training courses. So everybody here is very, very well aware of their equipment, and as I think that crash we saw is more of just you know, a bottleneck. I think, Jez, just too many riders trying to get into one space and not enough room to do it.
This leading group, if we call it that, is not yet fully formed just yet. Anton Ferdinand's still leading and wanting to lead by the looks of it. The two Belgians just stealing a couple of bike lengths there at the moment. That's coming back, though. Loris Rouillet there working his way back up into 3rd. I think he wants to get closer to the front by the looks of it. And you're right, you know, J. Powell, Bastain's last year had this much more his own way. He's got a fight on his hands today, hasn't he? Not just from Ferdinand.
No, this benefits the other riders too, though. You know, Schwartz and White, who are tucked into this group, and if Spranger comes on, these riders are going to benefit from the additional horsepower because the racing is going to be more tactical. And the thing that's going to be interesting about this is not everybody has, these riders have all raced together. Don't get me wrong; they've all been in the, you know, the top those races after the Christmas period, the World Championships. They've done races together, but never like this. You know, never as a head-to-head race, racing for the win. Without, you know, the tippity top 5 riders like Lorenz Sweck and, you know, Michael Van Torenhout, etc. These riders aren't in the mix today, so they're not driving it and bringing that additional horsepower to it. So the race dynamics and the way that this is all going to play out are completely different, and so it's going to be a different type of racing. We're going to have to wait to see who's got what and who shows their hand first. So far, in my mind, only Anton Ferdinand has snapped it out of the corner once or twice. No one has really laid anything down yet to show a hand of, you know, being like the alpha on this course and really putting it all out there.
Ooh, all but the 6th rider there, hopping those barricades as well. One of the riders just coming in there. I think that might have been Jack Spranger, just unclipping and running it there for a little bit of confidence maybe as he chased back onto the back of that group. Caleb Schwartz just surfing around that bend. I think Jack Spranger just behind him there as well. So we've got a group of, what, 6 or 7 forming up there at the front. And J. Power, it should go without saying, but I haven't mentioned it so far. Of course, we're starting the whole cyclocross season here at the home of cycling on Eurosport GCN in America. And this is an America with an American rider on the cusp of having its first Vuelta winner since Chris Horner in 2013. What a special weekend for American cycling. It is absolutely brilliant. So many people, and I'm talking to you from London, England, in Europe, or should I say previously in Europe, close to Europe. So much love for Sepp Kuss. on the cusp of taking that win tomorrow. It must be a wonderful time to be enjoying American cycling, despite the fact that we're starting cyclocross season. What a moment, AJ Powell.
Yeah, I'm really happy for Sepp, to be able to be doing this and to kind of have been through all that drama and the hardship of being a leader amongst the two big champions of Primoz and Jonas, and he's been able to do this. And yeah, I think for American cycling, this is going to be a real, a real boost to the interest. And I also think to Sepp's career, I think it's really special to see. I know we have a lot of mutual friends, and I've just been seeing it all over the Instagram, and the U.S. Media and cycling magazines have been so excited to see this, and I'm just happy that he's been able to, after doing so much for those riders, be able to have his own success as well, because he really deserves it. He raced this huge race, and he's been super, super strong, as we see now. Looks like Strohmeyer coming back here, popping himself there on Ruya's wheel as he comes in. He wants to get past Loris Ruya and pop himself in here at the front, so he's got to strike a good leg. This is what I mean. Wait to see the first rider that's going to maybe put a little bit of a warning shot out there, and it looks to be Andrew Strohmeyer. Super strong rider, very, very successful U.S.-based rider, young, up and coming, definitely punching above weight. But every year, Jez, as these riders get older, they get a little more power, a little more confidence. Awesome to see Strohmeyer here leading up this race with so much European talent and the national champion of Curtis White.
Yeah, Strohmeyer himself, a former junior national champion in the USA and under-23 national champion too. Just sensing that the group was watching each other there, and why not come through and put the pressure on himself as well. So he gets himself to the front, out on the front, out of trouble of course, and with clear sight of the course in front of him too. Strohmeyer now kicking up this little rise. He has last year's winner, double winner, because he won the first and second round on his way to taking 5 round wins in a row. Vincent Bastain's there sitting in second wheel in that light bluey green kit. This is it's a very close one, J Powell, at the front, isn't it? There's no gaps between this lot at the moment.
No, it's going to get harder, though. We're only 1/4 of the race so far is completed. 15 of 60 minutes is only done. So, this is there's a lot of racing to go. And I think a rider like Bastain's, a rider like White, the older riders in this group of 6 here, they're going to know to wait. They're going to know to be conserving their efforts, to be thinking that that this race is going to play out late. There is a lot of shuffling and moving around. You see Ruya there shuffle out that 6th place rider there, Schwartz, not letting him come past for the sand pit. Riders trying to jockey for position. They don't want any problems here, but Ruya there leaves a little gap through as he comes in fighting for position. But I think Bastain's and White, they know that they can't be out there firing off shots early. They need to wait and see how this plays out and wait for the others to make a move. And then if nothing happens, then of course it's going to come down to the last 20 minutes, which is very classic cyclocross, especially on a drag track like this here in North America.
Yep, absolutely bone dry. This is exactly what you'd want to see at the beginning of the season. Depending on where you're watching this around the world, of course, if you're watching it from where I am in Europe, it's exactly what we've been accustomed to seeing, these really fast, dry, dusty courses in the USA, and starting the season again with the US Cyclocross Series. That sand pit, by the way, is almost volcanic, J Powell, isn't it? It's quite dark sand. It reminds me of the Canary Islands, Lanzarote, somewhere like that. That kind of coarse, dark sand. They're going slightly uphill in the direction today, but tomorrow it'll be really fast through there, ever so slightly downhill into it, won't it?
It will, yeah. It'll be a right-hander. This time it's a left-hander coming off of it. But, I don't know if I think it's man-made. I think they bring the sand in up there. And then, for each of the races, they go and they rake it out and they flatten it. And so it's even harder for that first lap. And the line changes a little bit. But all of these riders are going to have done a lot of time in the sand, and they're going to be very comfortable racing it, as we see there. White and Schwartz there leading up the back of this group. I think that they are the ones that, were last into the sand, and then they kind of continue to stay there, as we see Ruya, Bastain's, Anton Ferdinand, all there up in the front, kind of not dictating the pace, not getting shuffled out as they come through.
Caleb Schwartz there in the black, right at the back of that leading group as well. He's been bashed around a little bit. He's been muscled out of it at times as well, which is a surprise for someone as punchy and muscular as he is as well. But he's just on the back there, a little gap back to Curtis White there, sitting in 4th place as well. Bastain's there now in third, and the young Swiss rider Loris Ruya looking really good. When he steps on those pedals as well, in and out of these corners, he's closing up the gaps to Anton Ferdinand really quickly. He's a real danger today, Jay Power, isn't he, by the looks of it, the young Swissman?
Could be. I don't have a real read on it yet. You know, I can't see the body language. It's too early to tell. You know, I know that Ferdinand's been kind of showing the most of his form so far. Bastan's, you know, came to the front at the sections that he needed to, so he can move around the group right now. I feel like my assessment right now is that everybody in this top 6 is doing just fine. Even Schwartz, although he has a small gap here, a few bike lengths, I think everybody's doing just fine right now, and I think they're all riding within themselves. I don't think that we've seen an all-out effort yet. Fastest lap was that opening lap, 6:42. Let's see how they come through. I don't think that they're pushing the pace necessarily, which is what allowed Caleb Schwartz and Strohmeyer to come back into the mix here. So let's see what comes through. Let's see what the time is as they lap through here. But I think that they're right now just kind of eyeing people up, taking note. Who's where? How's this going down? Who's strong? Who's not? As we see a little bit of a little dab there from Ferdinand clipping that post.
Yep, and Caleb Schwartz likewise as well, actually washing right out, having to put a foot down as well. Schwartz might get back on if they do ease up a little bit. Just depends whether they start looking at each other again. They're coming through to complete the third lap, and that's a big kick by Anton Ferdinand as well, down onto the road and up the other side towards the school on School Hill, right beneath the elementary school there. Ferdinand really going hard. Let's watch that again, Jay Powell.
Yeah, little bit of a replay here of Ferdinand. Watch him as he comes in there, just a little slide out, clipping the back wheel there, and then when he comes through, just looking up, but kind of just off his mark, but feeling a little sparky there, kind of pushing the pace on that, getting a little squirrely, and now this is the first real effort that I've seen, and you can see everybody's on the same page now. They understand that this is Anton Ferdinand making the first real hard efforts of this race 20 minutes in.
Andrew Strohmeyer looks good. He hasn't been shaken out of that group as well either. He's hanging on. Schwartz still there. Bastain's little gap behind Loris Ruya.
You're going to sit up, though.
Yeah, quite a few. I didn't notice. I should have mentioned that earlier, Jay Powell. A lot of the riders keeping bottles in their bottle cages. That's something we won't see further into the season, will we?
No, but there's not a lot of shouldering of the bike, so they're happy to have the bottle on there. And with 80 degrees, you know, it's 60 minutes. You do want some hydration. You want something to wet your palate with all the dust in the air. So these 5 together. But you know what's interesting is that there's no one to push the pacer to keep it high. So my experience is that this will come down a little bit later. Strohmeyer recovers from that and now decides he wants to punch up the pace. But these riders, there's no one to continue. So we saw Ferdinand testing them, pushing the pace a little bit, Jez, but he hasn't committed to it yet. Like, meaning he was willing to do 1 minute hard to see where everyone was at and give a little test. Hey, how's everybody doing here? But he's not willing to commit to it and continue to put power down and really say, like, okay, I want to thin this thing out and see who's able to come with me. That will come later. But right now, the first test has been from Ferdinand, but we'll see who's willing to put in a consolidated, 5, 8 lap after lap minute effort to see if they can shred this thing to bits.
Those are the words of a 4-time national champion and 95 times a winner as a professional, Jeremy Powers, alongside me, Jez Cox. And this is the opening round of the US Cyclocross Series. Let's call it effectively the opening round of the whole season for cyclocross, Virginia's Blue Ridge Go Cross. And this is fascinating for us because we're getting a chance to see these riders for the first time on their cross bikes this year. But of course, it's the first of 2 days. So everything we are learning about them, Jay Powell, will give an interesting context to tomorrow's race because they're really showing their strengths and differences here as well. As we watch again, Strohmeyer again going back to the front and kicking hard. But it will be revealing ahead of tomorrow. But also they'll be learning about each other and where their form is ahead of tomorrow. Not just us, but watching, that was a replay, of course, but watching each other will possibly inform how they race tomorrow too.
They'll know more about each other. That's what I was saying. They don't know how. That's why this is a little coy. This is why this is a little bit slower going. I think everyone's here to win, right? Everybody in this top 6 is here to win. I think they all have a sense of where they're at in their training. They've all got a sense of these other riders and who could potentially be dangerous. But I think what you're seeing is that they're playing it a little bit like this. As you see now, Curtis White doesn't want to be shuffled out. He wants to put himself up there. But they all know what they're coming up against. But they've never raced together. So it makes it more dynamic. And no one's really willing to continue to put all the power down and to try to bring this thing out, because they don't know what someone's off seasons look like and how much they're bringing to it. They're all here to try to win. So right now we've got 6 people in their minds that believe they can win. It's going to take one that's going to need to take a gamble and to just try to thin things out and, you know, bet on themselves a little bit and see what they can come away with here. It's going to be it's going to go late, though. I don't think it will happen in the next lap. I think it will happen maybe with more like 4 to go, 3 to go. We'll see someone really put down a consolidated effort to try to go away.
I did wonder early on whether that's what Ferdinand was trying to do, but as you said, using your vast experience of cyclocross, Jeremy, that it's way too soon to be doing just that. Ferdinand back on the front, though. You've got to think, certainly I feel, that a rider, I mean, Bastains has made this a regular feature now starting in the States, but with Ferdinand doing it here for the first time like this, there's got to be a little bit more pressure on him than there is on the US riders. To get the result and make the big trip, and no doubt, of course, the cost, the expense of being here and travelling here. It's got to make it count. A little bit more pressure. We heard in the women's race, I won't say which riders, but of the leading riders, talking about the importance. In fact, our winner, and I'll give nothing away here, she talked about the importance of being calm and just feeling good and being happy and calm on the bike were her words, weren't there? And
that's right.
There has to, a little bit more pressure must come with travelling this distance and going, right, I'm starting here and I'm here for a reason.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's there. You're hearing something from White there about his helmet, maybe glasses or helmet. Something's going on there, but unsure of what he was saying. He was saying something to one of his staff. But you're right. I mean, all of these riders are also blown out the cobwebs, you know, getting into this first race of the year, getting their bikes over from Europe back to the U.S. They're going to be doing, you know, 4 weekends of racing here if you combined everything together. So they're going to be here for about the better part of a month, as is, you know, the mountain bike racers. Some of them are going to be doing these last 2 World Cups and then going to the Trek World Cup that's going to be coming up here in the middle of October. So a lot of people, a lot of good bike racers are going to be over here in North America for the next couple of weeks, putting everything together and, you know, trying to get their cyclocross seasons started. Some of them are going to be ending their mountain bike seasons. But right now, these 6 riders are all squared off head to head. I think, watch Bastans, Jez. You know, there's Bastans is a finisher. He said that in many interviews that he likes to finish these races off. And right now, I see him back there playing a little bit of poker. He's just kind of hanging out. You know, he's not on the limit. He's not there. But when we saw Anton Ferdinand snap his legs a little bit there, the second rider that was immediately reactive was Vincent Bastans.
Yeah, Bastans there sitting back in that light, kind of oily, bluey green, just ahead of Caleb Schwartz there. Second from the back. And he has Strohmeyer just in front of him. And Caleb Schwartz still doing a good ride here, despite the fact that he was yo-yoing a little bit early on when the pace was on. In the black, the MV Composites rider. Bastan's now right at the back, just behind Curtis White, the American cyclocross champion. And as Jay Power said, more than last year, more than in this race last year, a lot of looking at each other here, just sizing each other up between these leading 6 riders.
They don't want to say they're going easy. Sorry to chop you there. Because yeah, I mean, looking at the lap times, you know, we see Strohmeyer looks like to have had the fastest lap, 6:41 last time. But that doesn't really mean much, because everybody else, as we see Strohmeyer now light up a big one, and you see that Curtis White right there on the side taking a little momentum. So Strohmeyer there trying to continue to force the issue here, bring something down with 6 laps to go. But just to say that second lap, everyone was 650, mid 650s, but this last lap, mid 640s. So they are back at that first lap pace, and they're going super deep. So I do think, you know, there's still potentially a race-winning lap or 2 in the 630s, but it would take a lot of pedaling and a lot of really good bike handling to be able to pull off a 630 on this course. So let's see what happens.
Yeah. 6 laps to go of the 9 laps they will do in total. Andrew Strohmeyer there, leading, having done that same thing as he did 1 lap ago, or was it 2 laps ago, when they came down the dip, straight up the other side, kicked really hard. But Loris Ruya, the Swissman in the dark green with the red helmet there, is looking really sharp at the moment, very attentive at the front end as well. The only rider in this leading group of 6 who's actually started his cross season already last week in Germany. He was 3rd behind Stan Godry in Bensheim last weekend, the last outing. He had 2 races last weekend, of course, in Germany. And we can see just how much dust is now being kicked up, even by these riders. By the way, J-Pow, I should point out that race in Germany last week. Nice to see our colleague Jens Decker getting back at it with the racing this winter. He was sixth in that race, beaten by Loris Ruya, Marcel Meissen, the German rider, of course, and Bailey Grunendahl, just one place ahead of him. But good to see Jens back racing. He'd undernerd about it last winter and is committed to it this year, making a bit of a comeback as well. So it might mean we get to hear him a little bit less on our screens here at the home of cycling, Eurosport GCN, but we do wish Jens well.
Yeah, super happy that he made a comeback. He's such a gifted cyclist and such a good rider. Can't wait to watch him race when he gets a little bit more of the race finesse in his legs and he gets back into the mix of it, what he can do. He's, yeah, very gifted and, you know, obviously a really well-respected commentator and colleague here, you know, doing the commentaries. But as a bike rider, I personally would love to see what he's capable of. And I love that this next chapter of his career to go so much. But here's the leaders: Ferdinand, Ruya, Boston, Strohmeyer, White, Schwartz, Shelton, and Vandenham in the top 8 now.
I do wish, J-Pow, you hadn't reminded me of Michael Vandenham's last race outing. Of course, it would have been his last race outing, wouldn't it, in Hoogerheide at the World Championships back in January. That terrible clip that went viral all around the internet of him putting his finger back in. He wasn't even putting it back in. You told me it was broken, wasn't it? And he just reset it and put it back in place. I've never seen anything. I mean, that guy is hard, isn't it? I'd have been crying all the way to the hospital and screaming at people not to touch it. Anyway, yes, thank you for reminding us of that. 5 laps to go, half an hour of racing done already. We're now getting into the second half of this race. And Andrew Strohmeyer wants to be the one who's igniting it, doesn't he? Kicking again. Yeah.
No, he's really feeling good on the bike here. He's opening a gap. White's needing to close that down. He's let 1 or 2 bike lengths go. Strohmeyer, though, last lap, it was a 7-minute lap, so it wasn't as feisty as the 2 laps that we saw, the first one and the third one. The 4th lap was 7 minutes for everyone, but right now, Strohmeyer opening it up and trying to put together here. We saw him after we saw a little attack. He was the one that followed it up to test the legs of everyone, but now we are seeing a concerted effort from Andrew Strohmeyer to put together 5, 7, 8 minutes here of hard riding to see what damage he can do. He's got a couple of people on notice here. You can see Boston's there, 6th spot right now. Curtis White just in front of him, but you see Ferdinand and Ruya both right on Strohmeyer's wheel.
Well, Strohmeyer's last race outing was a really disappointing one for him at those World Championships in Hoogerheide in the Netherlands, of course. He was 42nd in that under-23 race. I'm not sure how many people finished, actually, but he must have been a long way down. And that's on the back of 2 top 10 finishes in World Cups at both Benidorm and Besançon in the under-23 category. So he would have expected to be top 10 there or close to the top 10 at the World Champs. But a disappointing end to a really good season for him last year.
Yeah, do you think there was a crash? I think there was something. So it wasn't a normal day out for Strohmeyer.
Absolutely. You know,
but yeah, no, he's a really great rider. He's you know, he's definitely one of the up and coming U.S. talents, and you can see here another year of development under his belt, and now he's attacking some of the top 20 European elite males here in this first round. He's clearly on a good day, and it's so good to see. I know Curtis will be really happy to see too. Strohmeyer up here going for it. You know, we talked a lot about Eric Brunner, who we don't see here, or Scott Funston, Brunner's teammate there, but neither of those 2 riders here representing the U.S. today. But for sure, it's great to see that we've got 2 Americans here in the mix going all out and riding, as we see Schwartz a little bit gapped off. But let's wait to see as now Ruya takes up the front, maybe to calm things down a little bit after Strohmeyer really punched it up. But again, I haven't seen anyone yet, Jez, put together a full lap at this halfway point.
No. And all the while, last year's double winner here in Roanoke, Vincent Bastain's just sitting at the back. I make it sound so easy, don't I? You've pointed out, J-Pow, a couple of times just how hard it is to keep up this pace at the front. But there he is in that greeny blue top to his skin suit right at the back of the group, and quite deliberately in the back of the group as well, just watching everyone, just behind Curtis White, the American champion.
As long as Vincent Bostons is there, for me, he's still the favorite because of his experience and because of the way that I've seen him race. Whoa, as we see there, a little bit of a slice up. Boom, look at this, over the barriers. What an awesome shot from the drone. We see Strohmeyer. This is where he lit it up last time, so there's a big climb just after this as they come through. This is not the front group. This is the group with Michael Vandenham and some of the other riders from the Bear CX. But let's see, does Strohmeyer open it up here again on this part of the course where he is getting a replay here of Strohmeyer as he comes through, just crossing it up as he comes through here, Jez.
Yes, I love it. In actual fact, Anton Ferdinand tried to match him there, and he just cased it a little bit. He landed a bit short on the top. That was class by Strohmeyer. I think he cleared the whole thing there, J-Power. And yes, you're right, he crossed it up a little bit too.
Yeah, well, you know what the truth is that while that looks super cool, it does tell us where he's at, and he's not at his maximum. Right, if you're crossing it up and you're not at your max, right? So that's what I know right now about Strohmeyer, is that he's feeling really good. He's feeling quite sparky, and let's see what happens. It's exciting, but watch these corners too, because these have speed limits on them, and as they get through here, Jess, this could be an area where we see a slide out or a rolled tire, something happen in these, because these are, as the race pace goes up and as the riders get more fatigued, this corner in particular, a lot of these really washed out and super fast.
J-Pow, what do you just explain what you mean by that? They have speed limits on them. I think I know what you mean, but what you mean, if they go too fast, you just wipe out.
That's right. Yeah, right. You can only do parts of this course so fast, and then you've kind of got your, you have to figure out, as we see a gel hanging out of Ferdinand's mouth there, you've got to wait, to see, where can I get more speed on a course like this, as they all sit up, take a gel, take a little water, wait it out. We never used to see gels. Nowadays, gels in cyclocross are all the rage. You see lots of them after Pidcock kind of made it okay to take gels. Now everyone also all right, well, we're going to take gels. It's true. It's true. You see a top rider do it, and then you think, why not? Why wouldn't we? From a performance standpoint, I always used to take one at the start. It's hard in these races when you're going so hard to do that. But Strohmeyer, again, really young rider, just lighting off shots here. He might look back at this and think, I needed to consolidate all those sharp attacks, put them one together and make it go. But I don't want to take anything away from Andrew. He's riding a great race, and he's riding at the front, and he's riding on how he feels. So let's see what he can do here.
It is nice elemental racing. We would definitely encourage it, J-Pow, wouldn't we? But that is, well, he might yet go on to win this, but that is 4, maybe even 5 of those hard sprints he's done so far, Strohmeyer. But he is really confident. We've seen him enjoying himself on the bike, and this is what we want to encourage, I guess, as we watch it. The very best riders applying themselves as they want to. We're seeing a contrast, though, aren't we, in last year's winner, Vincent Bastains, who we barely mentioned. He was just sitting there. Notably, as well, he was the only one actually not taking a drink or having a gel when everyone else was as well. He was just sort of assessing the situation in this leading group of 5. There they are again as they come through with 4 laps to go. Andrew Strohmeyer leading them through ahead of Loris Ruya, the Swissman, Curtis White, the American champion, Anton Ferdinand, the Belgian, and Caleb Schwartz just off the back of them as well. Strohmeyer going again, keeps looking a little bit over his shoulder to see how he's shaking the group out, and he looks like he might be shaking out Vincent Bastains as well. Bastains just losing a little bit of a bike length there to the back of the group. I don't know if he is maybe finessing as much as we think he is, J-Pow.
I don't know. He's not fighting for it. I agree with you, but I don't know that he's in trouble yet. Like I said, as long as he's still in this picture frame, I'm still believe him to be the favorite of the day. But let's see. I don't know anything about his travel schedule. I don't know if he's got like stomach problem or bad food or who knows what. But Strohmeyer is forcing the subject here, and he is definitely right now wants to get to this section again first. Bastains, though, like I said, the last 20 minutes is when I have traditionally seen him come to life. So let's see. Maybe he's not on his best day, but from what I've been able to see over the last years of watching him race, he's very consistent and he's extremely collected. Like he waits and he doesn't. I don't know. He's just got a lot of chill in him. Like he's okay that he hasn't animated this race yet, and he will strike with a venom here if he is on a good day. That's what he's shown in the last years of his racing over here.
That's the next group going through, with Marcy Shelton in the middle of it, riding for Bear CX, the 20-year-old, another one of those exciting young riders who's coming through at the start of this season, working their way away from the junior ranks through the under-23s. Vincent Bastains, though, is still not back on, J-Pow. He's taken a while, maybe using the climb to come back on, but that gap is about the same as it was. And I can't help but think that Andrew Strohmeyer has looked back at Bastains a couple of times. Wouldn't be surprised if he had another look again there as well, just to see the damage he's doing behind. He's going again.
I agree with you. Strohmeyer is definitely, like I said, I was waiting for someone to do it. Rouillat now coming across, going through both of them to take the front, to bring it down into this section. So now Rouillat on the front there. Strohmeyer sees them come through, so they've got to be on notice. But everybody coming through this section very fast. So definitely Schwartz has kicked the bee's nest a little bit here, got everybody riled up, and now Rouillat wants to benefit from Strohmeyer's attack.
All the while, Curtis White just sits in there. Curtis White has looked very good so far. We haven't seen him really do any of the attacking. He's just following wheels, and he looks good, the American champion, in there as well. But it's as if these youngsters really want to flex their muscles right at the beginning of the season as well. Strohmeyer doing most of it so far, but Loris Rouillat there, now leading in the green skin suit, red helmet, the Swiss rider.
No, this is that last 20 minutes that I was talking about now that we're coming into, and I think that this is where, these riders know that we've done enough, enough hard riding. But the question that I'll ask is, if we see someone really commit to this and go through the start finish with their head down, that will tell me that they're in there, they're basically going 100%. If we see them sit up, take a gel, wait, not really push it to the max, that's when I'll know that the final kind of blows haven't happened yet and that these riders aren't all going all in yet. But look at this, Boston's back on the back of this group here.
Yeah, using his experience. J-Pow, could there be anyone in this leading group of 5? I know they won't be thinking about it, but could there be any tactical play in this group of 5 that's thinking about getting the biggest haul of UCI points and USCX series points across the 2 days by just trying not to do too much today? I know that sounds nuts, considering how hard they're going, but is there anything in that, in the attacking of Strohmeyer there, the fact that I'm talking about him paying for it today, but he's going to start to pay for it a little bit tomorrow too, after an hour's hard racing, surely?
Yeah, that's okay though. He's young, I think that's totally fine. He's 22 years old, so you can have one day of the weekend go really well, and if you're going to pick one, you'd want it to be the C1. So I think everybody here is on the same playing field. How someone recovers from one day to the next, it's only the beginning of kind of Strohmeyer's career. I'd love to see him have one good day and one day that's not as good, personally. If he went all out and he takes the win and he pushes it up, then that's awesome. I would take that gamble personally. But now, this is what I mean. Here we go. Yep. Now another attack now from Ferdinand coming across, and then you see it's Curtis White that goes with him. But Rouillat sitting up there, not continuing to push the pace. In fact, off the pace now after putting in that big effort.
Oh, J-Pow, I've got a feeling you're about to be proved very much right here, and that's what we pay you for, because last year's winner, Vincent Bastain's, now moving through. I wondered whether he was not on it today, but we just see under that attack of Ferdinand, that's the point at which Bastain's there, just winding his way through, and already looking good at this point.
Yeah, let's wait to see. I mean, truthfully, I don't really know where Vincent's at. I haven't spoken to him yet. I'm sure I will see him at one of these races coming up or chat with him a bit. I've known him for a really long time. I've personally raced against him head-to-head. He, Stephen Hyde, myself have had some great battles at these very races. I just know how he races for a long time. But this looks like Ferdinand, like I said, he's going hard through the start-finish now. So this is his effort. He's not sitting up, and this is what I was looking for. Who is going to try to put the chips down? Who's going to say, I'm riding this lap all out? And it looks to be that it's going to be Anton Ferdinand, who, the first 10 minutes was really active, but has waited and now is starting to light it up and really put it all in. But you see everyone able to match Ferdinand right now as they go through. What a great race we're on our hands here, Jez.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see Rouillat distance so quickly there. I don't know whether he's just having a little bit of a tough moment, but he's off the back of this group too. And Ferdinand again looking good. The Belgian rider for Deshach Hens Mace in the very dark blue and yellow with the white helmet at the front. There's the Swiss rider.
I am surprised, but the heat is one thing that I think, in Switzerland you just don't get the high heat like that normally, and especially during the cyclocross season. I don't know, it's never, it's so individual. But wait till tomorrow. Maybe Rouillat has a better day tomorrow, especially with the sloppier conditions, the cooler temperatures. It'll do a lot better. But right now looks like it's down to 4. Strohmeyer, Boston's there at the back. Strohmeyer coming around Boston's now.
3 laps to go. And the American champion, Curtis White, we're not really mentioning him because he's not breaking cover at the front very much. He's just covering wheels. He's never once, though, has he? Curtis White has never once looked in trouble. And he's not been yo-yoing up and down either, like we've seen Bastain's doing either. He's been very comfortable in the middle of that group the whole time.
No, he brings a lot of confidence. This championship, he just put out a great video. If you haven't seen it, I think it's For the Love of Cross, maybe is the name of it. But he just put out a video. I was able to be a part of it. Bill Scheiken of CX Harris was able to be a part of it. Chris Norvold did the edit. A lot of great clips from last year's racing in the path to Curtis's national championship title. So very cool to see. I know Curtis super well, and I think he brings a lot of confidence from, of course, his victories last year, but also finally, after so long, finally becoming the national champion. I know it's a great privilege, and I know he feels really like everything is worth it now, having been national champion. I think it's special to see because he's had a lot of at-bats, a lot of second and third places, but never pulled it off, and finally he is the champion of the United States for this year.
And that is something, of course, that Jeremy Powers, who's alongside me here, well, not alongside me geographically, but alongside me in voice, has done on 4 occasions too. Great to be on the mic with you, J Powell. My name's Jez Cox, and the two of us are bringing you this, the opening round, the opening day of the USCX series in the dusty, dry conditions of Virginia's Blue Ridge Go Cross. And I make this the 6th big attack by Andrew Strohmeyer. Again, still looking really snappy, but it's not shaking out this group just yet.
No, and Ruya sticking in there. Some classy riders out here. I'll be curious. I'll be curious to see who's going to put together 8 minutes all out here at this point with the heat. Maybe no one. Maybe it's going to go like this and yo-yo around. I mean, Curtis yesterday sent me a voice message. I asked him to just give me some feedback on the track. He said it was very similar. He thought it might, he thought it might be late, but he also thought it might be a group race all the way to the finish. It was hard to say because there's, like there's a lot of this, as we've been seeing, a lot of small attacks, but it's hard to put together a full lap. But it's continued to be Strohmeyer, who we know is very good right now. He's really riding strongly, but he's the one that's continuing to push the pace. The 22-year-old former junior and under-23 national champ riding for CXD Trek, also Crosshairs Devo Trek on the front here, number 8, really throwing down and putting a lot into this as he comes through.
Okay, J Powell, you know I like to do this, and I'm going to force you to do it. I will not allow you to back down. Who's going to win this bad boy? Come on. Can I get in there first, actually? Let me get in there first. I'm the ignorant Englishman here, so I can get in there first. I'm actually going to say that, I'm only going to say it because I know you were going to say this, Vincent Bastains will take off on the last lap, having sat there quietly all race, and he will win. There's my pick. Who you got? And you're not allowed to go for the same as me. You're not allowed to. No,
that's brutal.
Not
that's
allowed
brutal.
To.
That's
yes,
brutal.
That's what I do.
There's heart and there's this. It's so hard to tell. I mean, I have to say that I think Ferdinand is really good today, but I don't think he's got the complete package today. I just haven't seen him. I feel like if he did have the power, he would have held on to one of these attacks. I don't know.
That is what I call a cop-out, an utter cop-out. You're a shambles, J Powell. You better
There's
come
politics.
back with more. Cut him
There's
off.
politics.
No,
There's politics.
Cut him off. Cut him off. I'll have none of this favoritism and trying to protect your reputation. You stick your neck on the line, boy. I'll come back to you tomorrow and I'll force you to come up with someone. Don't worry about that. Oh, Curtis White warming up. Let's hope he's not going to go for the cross-up as well. No, a little bit more sensible this time, but the American champion now going to the front. I don't recall him leading so far, J Powell.
No, but he is now, and he comes through to the barricades, jumps through there. Bastans comes through. Ruya also there on the back. Not, like you said, not looking as sparky as before. So where is Loris Ruya right now? Is he coming through and trying to do something here, or is he going to just sit back and wait? But right now, White on the front, maybe figuring out, like, hey, we've got 3 laps to go. As a cross rider, when you see 3 laps to go, you know, okay, there's 20-ish minutes left. And most of these riders are 20-minute, effort kind of guys. So everybody knows that they're going to put 110% here in this last 15 minutes. So let's see. Let's just see. Someone's going to light off a firecracker here, and it's just a matter of time here. So let's wait to see if this is White's moment. If he's going to try to stretch this out now.
And we've just been looking at that little group of 3 who are in 7th, 8th, and 9th. They are Marcy Shelton, Jules Van Kempen, and Michael Vandenham. Those 3 just still inside the top 10.
I will critique your pick a little bit, just because Bastans has been very good, but I would say that this is, although there are other riders that are at a high level, Boston's traditionally has been more active, and so even for Vincent, he's really played this one coy. If he's super strong and he's going to light one off, he's played this. If he does that, he's played this to absolute perfection with regards to.
Just to be clear, mate, you're not allowed to not give me a prediction and then pick holes in my prediction. You've just double-crossed yourself. I'll tell you something. I'm not going to go easy on you tomorrow, J-Pal. You be ready for it, boy.
Let's see who drives this through the start-finish now. No, they're going to sit up. They're going to sit up, which is going to benefit Ruya as well as Vincent Bostons here. Let's see. Here we go. Someone's gonna take the bait on this one, and it's going to start to go pretty bananas.
Once again, Bastain's the only rider there who did not take a drink either. So either he's super focused and not needing it, or just using a different hydration tactic to the others. There he is with the number 1 on his back. What has Ruya got left? Loris Ruya sitting on his wheel, who looks so good in the opening 25 minutes of this race. Really good. I actually thought the Swissman, in fact, if we'd have picked a winner then, I'd have said it would be the Swissman in the green skin suit with the red helmet. But you can even see from his style here, he's just rolling that little bit more. Still strong enough to be hanging in with the leading group of 5. But unless he's playing it canny and deliberately trying to look not so good, he looks like he might be swinging a little bit more, the Swissman, at the back.
Got a great race though, and I'm really happy to see all of these riders up at the front. It's great, but this is a good race as we get this nice aerial overshot here. It's just a matter of time, Jez.
Absolutely. We're looking at that backing off by Strohmeyer there again, looking over his shoulder, having the sense just to look around him, letting Anton Ferdinand underneath as well, even Ferdinand looking around as well. As you say, J-Power, in the closing stages of this race, it's still a very canny affair. Dare I say it, we could be treated to a sprint finish here as well. And it's not a super long finishing straight either. They'd have to sort themselves out coming into that final bend, wouldn't they?
It would happen. The final race is going to be, the final lap's going to be going really hard after this turn here, all the way up to the sand pit. Guys are going to try to get there first, and those stairs in that little area just after the stairs is the last place to really do a good pass if someone's on the gas. It's there's some little areas to pass, but you'd have to be quite cagey about it. Lot of checking. A lot of people are looking at each other right now, and they're going to race here to this sand pit pretty aggressively coming up here, and you're going to want to be in that top. So watch this. Hopefully we don't have a crash. I'd hate to see that. As you see, Boston's giving a little space, knowing that it's going to be a little argy-bargy up top to funnel my inner Marty McD.
Don't you come out with the Anglophone quotes now, will you? Yeah, Bastain's again just playing it so coy at the back there, laying off a little bit, allowing a bit of space, almost waiting for the others to take each other out and just cruise through to the win. He's certainly not had it all his own way today, because it's a very, very strong leading group. I still think, despite my pick of Bastain's there, J-Pal, I still think that Curtis White's actually looked the most physically comfortable. I mean, he's a lovely, smooth, powerful rider anyway, but of all the riders there, form-wise, he's never shown a wobble at all in this American champion. Look at the way he's riding through the sand too as well. Just rolls up behind Ferdinand. He looks good.
No, I agree. I just can't play any favorites. I don't know. I agree with your statement.
Listen, I've given up trying to tease it out of you. I can see you've closed up like a clam, and viewers all around the world have seen it and heard it for themselves, J-Pal. But anyway, Strohmeyer is back on the front. I just don't know whether he's got another big killer attack in him like we've seen so far. We haven't seen him do that for a while, but boy, has he dug deep when he has done it. This is 2 laps to go now as well. So maybe we're seeing, as you mentioned earlier on, the heat now taking its toll. This is a longer race than the women's race. We didn't really notice it as much in the women's race, did we? But this has been very hard since the off, and maybe that's what it is. That the temperature. What is it now? About nearly 4:30 in the afternoon local time. Still pretty warm as well, though. It's been a warm day as well.
Yeah, it will be cooling a little bit now at this time. But, 80 degrees is for cyclocross. The speed's not very high. So you do end up having to just work super hard to get your body to cool. But, yeah, these riders, they'll have done this before. It's just interesting because right now, like, Schwartz is on the front. Boston's. Everyone's got a real poker face. It's a hard race to call. I haven't seen anybody really slip a wheel or anything. I think Rouillat was the only one that showed a little bit of, maybe deflated a little bit after he took over the front after Strohmeyer had punched it up. Rouillat came through, took it up, but then, that was kind of it. He hit the rev limiter, and then he said, I don't want to do that anymore. Took 2 laps kind of off there, looked as though he was going to be dropped, comes back. It's really hard to say. It's really hard to say where this is going to net out right now. Everybody looking very calm, cool, collected, and evenly matched here as we go into this last, 8-9 minutes of racing.
I mentioned that Loris Rouillat there sitting in 3rd place, raced both days last weekend in Germany. I don't know when he came over to the States, but it's still quite a big trip to take, even if it's midweek. Just adjusting to things and then adjusting to the warmer temperatures. Thankfully, it's pretty warm in Europe at the moment anyway, and I know it's been pretty warm in Germany too, where he was racing last weekend. But they're still looking at each other, still being quite cautious about this on the first day of 2 days of back-to-back racing here. And once again, Andrew Strohmeyer kicking hard now, kicking hard along the long straight.
This is that replay where we saw him really starting to go all out, and we saw this was up on the top part of that track, so he's still continuing to punch that pace up, but this is the area where he's done it lap after lap. So if he is still on the front, which it looks to be as though he is, this is where we've seen him really pedal and really start to push the pace quite a bit. So he is still on the front. This is, again, a little bit lower gear, looks back, sees, is there a little damage? There is. Boston's letting a bike length go as they come through, so watch this area now. This is that, there's a small depression, a small downhill as they come through and now this is where Strohmeyer's lit it up before, and it looks as though he's going to continue to do that. Rouillat's there. Anton Ferdinand doing everything he can to come back. Strohmeyer climbing super well, though, right now. Bostons and White hanging on. Look for it to go hard through the start-finish, and look for someone to be fighting all the way to that sand pit. And the last possible place is after those stairs, Jez, that we just saw just a minute or two ago. You want to be at the front. You want to be in the top 2 or 3 there, because it's a very quick sprint after that, and there's not a lot of space in these turns to make a pass. It'd be too dangerous. You'd slide out. You'd take someone else out. These riders are all G's. They know they don't want to take anybody out with their racing. So this is an impossible place to pass on the last lap. So look for those 2 areas, the sand pit and the stairs, to be pretty race-defining moments in this last round that they go through now.
Well, the 2 most punchy riders in the race continue to lead at the moment in Andrew Strohmeyer and Loris Rouillat. There they are, those 2. And those little digs and punches they're making have just opened up a little bit of a gap behind them. They will hear the bell this time. 1 lap to go for this leading group of 5 riders. Vincent Bastain's the winner 1 year ago. Still in there looking, well, comfortable and measured, still letting gaps go back to the back wheel of Anton Ferdinand, who sits 3rd there in the purple and, dark blue and yellow, I should say. But Andrew Strohmeyer going again. Every time the trail goes upwards, he gets out of the saddle and kicks hard. Curtis White moving up now on the outside too.
Yeah, you got to go hard, and you got to technically put it together there. But yeah, Ferdinand having to make space for White to come in there. But right now, look for any errors too, because this is going to be the fastest lap of the day. And oftentimes, this is when you get a small bobble or a small error. So Strohmeyer needs to continue to push the pace, but he also needs to be able to put this lap together technically on top of bringing this pace way up. And his adrenaline's going to be high, racing against top European riders, being 22 years old. There's a lot on the line. Let's see if Strohmeyer can pull this all together, put it all together in this last lap, and continue to put everybody on notice. But like you said, right, Rouillat as well as White looking very good there, sitting in 2nd and 3rd right now.
Yeah, it's a good course for overtaking. There is still plenty of wide sections as well. Strohmeyer now just backing off into this corner. Everyone there, no gaps between them. Vincent Bastain's right at the back still, as he has been for most of this race, really. It was early on we saw him up, looking to get in amongst the lead, but he knows he's got a fight on his hands today. If he wins from this position, it will have been a very canny one. Anton Ferdinand just looking over his shoulder to check on the whereabouts of his countrymen. Different teams, of course, both having made across the journey across the ocean from Belgium. Very multinational leading group, that, J-Power, isn't it? It's encouraging, exciting. It's exactly what you want to see in a top cyclocross series like this USCX.
Yeah, it's awesome to see Swiss rider, 2 Belgians and 2 Americans all up here in the front. Curtis White sitting in third, looking to come across now, wants to hit this sand pit first. As I told you, Jess, he knows how to play this race, and now Boston's there out a little bit as he gets shuffled out to 5th spot. This is not where you want to be in the race right now. White all here in the driver's seat as he comes through for this last lap, leading into the sand pit. Like I said, that confidence of being the national champion. White looking so calm, cool, collected. Let's see how everybody gets through this section, and if White continues to put down the pressure on the pedals all through this wavy section as they go down now, making their way to that next spot there in the stairs.
Yep. We're just going to see a replay of that moment again where we saw Curtis White drive hard up the outside. We haven't seen him lead too many times in this race, the US champion, but he has looked so comfortable throughout. I know he's got a very smooth style anyway, hasn't he, J-Pow? But the confidence, as you say, of being in that American champion skin suit as well, really telling today.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's for Curtis this jersey gives him a lot of, just gives him a lot of strength, gives him a lot of depth, gives him a lot of confidence. So I think right now we're seeing a bit of a different Curtis White as Rouillat now comes through. White happy to give that over, but Strohmeyer also wants to slot in, and there's going to be a little bit of petitioning there as now White has to slot into third.
I'm not sure Vincent Bastans is playing it quite as coy. I think he's not on that kind of day, J-Pow, is he? Because he wouldn't be letting that much of a gap go on this last lap, and he's not going to be winning this at this rate, is he?
Nope, he's not, and he needs to fight. He needs to fight through here, and White needs to fight too. I'm telling you right now, this is not a good position for White to be in. He needs to be up there in that 1st or 2nd spot. Going into those stairs, it's going to go really fast up that. You're going to remount, and then there's not a lot to go after that. It's going to be a short, fast sprint. Right now, you want to be in the top 2, and Rouillat now, though, going all out, opening about 5-6 bike lengths over Andrew Strohmeyer. So right now, it's White, Anton Ferdinand, as well as Strohmeyer that all have to close up to Laurent Rouillat, the Swiss rider that's now coming in and pushing it really hard here in this last final lap.
Wow, Laurent Rouillat looking really good. I thought he'd overcooked himself a bit by halfway through this race after all of his early digs and pushes. But now he looks like he's still got something left in the tank, and he's got a little gap over Strohmeyer as well. Swissman leading from an American and then a Belgian. Anton Ferdinand just back in third. Maybe Vincent Bastens isn't finished just yet, though. Curtis White is looking like he might be telling a little bit on this last lap as well. But the Swiss rider is looking snappy on the steps too. Ferdinand closing up. In fact, they're all closing up a little bit to the top there.
I think that Strohmeyer's the best on this last section, if I'm being completely honest with you now. I've seen him be able to come over the top. If he's got anything left, he's done really good over the barricades and on that next little punchy uphill section. Rouillat, the first time we've seen him out of the saddle, but Strohmeyer now all out as he goes in, shaking his head left and right as he punches it over. He pushes it down over the top, really trying to get all his speed back, brings back Rouillat now over the barriers. Look how he closes the gap there now.
Wow, Loris Rouillat now getting trouble from Strohmeyer. Strohmeyer using his big dig to come through now as well. This is it. And it's going to be a battle by the looks of it at the moment between the 2 most punchy riders in the race too.
Yeah, all the way up now. Ferdinand there lurking in the background. Strohmeyer takes it slowly through that. He knows that if he slows down and breaks the pace, Rouillat mentally right now kind of like, okay, I did everything I could to break it. But Strohmeyer now, in the first time he's been in this position leading these riders, this is the section where he's been super strong. Let's see if he can gap these riders off a little bit and put them under pressure. No, now White coming back across and opening up and going all the way over the top of everyone.
Oh, Curtis White just squeezed out of it there by Loris Rouillat, the Swissman, just coming right a little bit and chopping Curtis White there at just the wrong moment for him.
Like I said, this is not an area where you want to try to pass from here. That was White's last opportunity to get to the front. This is going to be a really fast sprint, very short at the end. So right now, Rouillat in the best position to be able to capitalize from this. Let's see if everyone can keep it together. Strohmeyer trying to pass in the section. Oh, right now, White doing everything he can to stick on. He's looking at the race win.
Loris Rouillat holding first position, but looking over his shoulder. I think he's expecting another attack from Strohmeyer as well. What has Strohmeyer got left? What has Anton Ferdinand got left there in third? The Belgian locked on the wheel. Curtis White just hanging on right now and actually losing a little bit of gaps. The Swiss rider is starting to extend his lead here, and he's so close to the finish. Here he goes. He opens up. Loris Rouillat is open. Strohmeyer, what's he got left in the sprint? Rouillat looking like he's taking it though, and he's going to get a win. Or is he? He had to be careful on the line. line. Loris Ruya just passed just a metre beyond the line, but the Swiss rider, having looked brilliant early on, that little dip in the middle, let's call it saving himself. They, J-Power, are wasted.
Yeah, that's a hot race as we're going to get over there with the camera to check out what happened. But yeah, like I said, there wasn't a lot of time to pass after the stairs there. You had to really punch it up. Rouillet knew what he had to do to get there. I think what we saw from him earlier was he tested, he figured out where he needed to go hard, and then after that it was like, hey, I'm not going to do anything else for this rest of this race. He knew exactly how he needed to do it. That is not Vincent Bossons, that's Laurens Rouillet, the Swiss rider there from Klosterkitchen, Heizomat, that took the victory. He played that perfectly, didn't he?
He absolutely did. Leading from the front. And actually, I wondered whether leading into that sprint might have been a mistake. But he seemed very, very confident in his finish, didn't he, as well? Using exactly the same punch and kick we've seen him using on the hill every time he'd gone up it in the finish as well. Let's watch it again, J-Pow.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. I mean, Strohmeyer did close a little bit, but it wasn't enough as Rouillet there came out. It was so fast, very quick, little downhill. You see Ferdinand there and Strohmeyer coming through, going right around Rouillet, but it's such a short, fast sprint. I knew the first person onto the pavement was going to have the big advantage. It's just you already have one bike length ahead of someone. It's a single, one by one going through that section. You can't go two up into the turn. So, yeah, it was really well played by Loris Rouillet, the Swiss rider.
Well, Anton Ferdinand doesn't look too pleased because he had a very fast finish there. He did manage to come around Andrew Strohmeyer for the finish. Had a good race, Anton Ferdinand. Maybe, well, I mean, in fact, I say maybe, J-Pow, if he had led into that final corner, he also probably would have been the winner because it was so close between those three. You were right with your analysis of where they needed to be. It's a cruel finishing straight, that, isn't it, for a group who might come together because it is so short. And not just short, but it curves to the right as they come to the line, doesn't it? It's not even a straight. I can't call it a straight.
Yeah. No, it was a quick finish. It was a fast finish. It always has been. But I think, yeah, it's something, this is bike racing, right? The best riders were all out there. They were all doing their best, and they were, Strohmeyer had a great ride. Yeah. Curtis, I don't think anybody in the top four there, including Bossons, can be too upset with that. I mean, Bossons clearly not at the way that we saw him, but he hung on there despite not on his best day. So I think everybody will be generally happy with this, and we see the sprint again. Strohmeyer realizing that he needed to come through, but man, that was close. But Anton Ferdinand just got there. So still a great ride from Andrew Strohmeyer. I think for me, the best ride I've ever seen him do as an elite rider so far.
Very impressive indeed. I must admit, I was a little bit worried for Loris Rouillet there because he wouldn't have got his hands back on the bars and started sprinting again if he'd celebrated too soon. I think it's the front on shot maybe gives it makes it look a little bit closer than it was, but. There we go. What a fast opening day of racing in both the women's and the men's. If you didn't see the women's race with us, you can watch it back on GCN+. You can catch all of it right there. So much happening, of course, this weekend where we see the Vuelta closing out this final day tomorrow, of course, into Guadarrama, the final stage tomorrow, of course. You can catch that here at the home of cycling on Eurosport GCN. The Women's Tour of Romandy as well is on this weekend. Marty McDonald and Joe Rousel bringing you that. But so much racing to catch up on. So much cross now to catch up on because across this weekend, J-Pow and I will be bringing you 4 cross races. We've brought you 2 already here today. The women's race a little bit earlier. And now the men's race in glorious sunshine. As I say, just to mark your cards, the weather forecast ain't so great for tomorrow, which could make it a really interesting, a contrasting 2 days of racing here. Certainly for the spectacle, I hope for the forecast to be correct. For the riders, I don't hope it's correct. But for us watching on television around the world, it might be rather nice to see this course run, as it will be, in the opposite direction. A few little bits of the features will change to make it flow in the opposite direction. But the opposite direction for the C2 races tomorrow, exactly the same timings as today for both the women's and the men's races in that order. And we are just about to see some interviews, I think. Bill Shakin giving us the interviews once again with our leading 3 riders, I think in the shade of the tree as well, if I'm not mistaken. It will be interesting seeing the course run in the opposite direction tomorrow, as we see, I think, confirmed for us there, our result. Provisional as it always is at this stage. Loris Rouillet, the Swissman, we seem to be missing. There it is. We've got the Swiss flag up. Anton Ferdinand in second. Andrew Strohmeyer there in third, ahead of Curtis White, Vincent Bastains, Caleb Schwartz. Jules Van Kempen got the best of that little group of Marcy Shelton and Michael van den Ham there in 8th and 9th. 10th place, Ben Frederick as well.
Great to see Ben. Yeah. Note one last thing before we get these flash interviews up from Bill. 6:27 was the top 3 riders there. I said it would be a 6:30. It was in fact 6:27. So here's Bill with the winner today, Lawrence Aruya.
What a race. Great way to start the season. Can you talk me through just a little bit of the strategy and just the fight in that front group?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, that's the very fast race. And yeah, I think I am not the best runger today. And I have some lap very hard with my legs and also with my head. But I have tried, and I'm so happy with the finish and the win.
So it really looked like the first person to get onto the final hills was going to, if you were leading coming onto those final hills, you were going to take it. Was that in your head? You weren't coming in that last half of the lap?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this race, it's so fast, and I think it's not the best day for going all the race on the front. You have some corner technical, and sometimes it's short when you are not first. But yeah, my gestion with this, it's perfect today, I think. And yeah, today I'm very happy.
So with this field out here, a lot of Americans racing in there, were you expecting the competition this high, especially early in the season?
Yeah, today it's a little bit more low of Fayetteville when it's the World Championships. I am also riding there, and yeah, it's crazy there. I like so much the people and also the track, and yeah, I am happy to be here for 1 month.
All right, well, congratulations. We'll see you out here tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to bring in our second place finisher, Ferdinand. Great race out there, really just working from the front. It was a lot of attacking. It seemed like it was really tactical between that group of 5. Can you talk me through what was going through your head, especially in those last laps?
Yes, in the beginning I feel very good actually, but I think I did too much in the first 30 minutes. The second part of the race was yes, I feel it in the legs, but I had a strong last lap and just second. Double feelings.
So same course tomorrow. If you have the same scenario, what do you do differently in that last lap?
First, I think I take it a little bit easier in the first part of the race, and then the last lap, yes, you have to be on the front of the group in the last corner, or otherwise you cannot hold it till the finish line.
Well, congratulations. We'll see you out here tomorrow.
Thanks. See you tomorrow.
All right. Okay, now we're going to go to our third place finisher, Andrew Strohmeyer. Andrew, it looked like the group wanted to take some breaks out there, and you were the guy that was really pushing to get ahead and attack.
Yeah, I mean, we come out here, it's the first race of the season, and yeah, we're just sitting in the front group, and we kept sitting up and riding recovery, and I wanted to get out here and race and really see what we could do. So yeah, anytime they set up, I was like, all right, let's go harder.
You knew that coming around in that last lap, it's really almost the flyover and the barriers. You got to be there because you got to be there for the hill. So, you know, what did you do today to put yourself in the position, and what's the strategy going into tomorrow?
Yeah, I did everything I could. I made it to the front before the last hill, got passed by one on the hill and tried to make it past in the final corners, but it just, yeah, it wasn't going to happen. They're so tight. So yeah, tomorrow's going to be interesting. I think we're going to see a little bit different race.
Still a U23 racer, nice to be up there mixing it up with the full elite field. Is that just give you a good benchmark for where you're at?
Yeah, it feels really good. I mean, yeah, no, I'm the youngest guy up there and still be able to push these guys and really make the race. So yeah.
Well, congratulations. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yep, thank you.
All right, that's going to do it for us here on the ground in Roanoke, Virginia. We'll send it back to our commentators.
Well, big thank you to Bill Shaken for the interviews, as ever, as we look back at the race. I have to say, Jay Powell, I think Andrew Strohmeyer, no offence to you, of course, but I think Andrew Strohmeyer is my new favourite American crosser. He came across really nicely there. I absolutely loved the way he took the race on, attacking. And he looked around. He said it in his interview, didn't he? As soon as he's up, well, I'm just going to go harder. Come on, let's just go harder. I absolutely love it. Looking back at some of the key moments here, Anton Ferdinand with all those early digs and the looking around. He'll be looked back tomorrow to try and make good on today, because he looked the most dischuffed of the leading riders with his second place. He was a bit angry with himself, I think. He'll try and put that one right tomorrow, so watch out for the Belgian tomorrow. And this was one of those moments from Strohmeyer, again, just watching the group thinking, yeah, I'll take this on again and again and again. And in the end, he had a podium finish to go with it all. That was the moment we saw him crossing up and enjoying himself over the flyover. Something I've done many times, of course, J-Pal, in my dreams. And then this lovely moment from Curtis White. That was the win, though, for the Swiss rider, Loris Ruya. We'll be back to do it all again tomorrow. Will the result be the same, though? Let's see. Fantastic day of racing. And there's the result confirmed for us of the C1, day one of the men's races. Loris Ruya of Hazelmat, Klosterkitchen, the winner, the Swiss rider, and a nicely multinational top 8 there. 2 Swiss riders, 2